Hey, welcome to Mind Your Own Biz, the podcast where we help small business owners with big dreams build something authentically you. I'm Alicia Yervis, educator, marketer, designer, nacho enthusiast, and your big sister in business. I'm excited for us to have this cozy spot to chat. Each episode, we'll tackle candid conversations, actionable tips, and a few fun tangents to help you run your business your way. Because business is always personal, no matter what anyone says. So grab your iced coffee or those nachos and let's get started. Hi there, and welcome to Mind Your Own Biz. My name's Alicia Yervis. I am your host, and I'm so excited to have you here for another episode. I was thinking earlier this week about how when we started our business, like I'm 8 years into my business, right? And I remember feeling like I needed to have everything like all figured out right at the beginning. I needed to know every single answer, every single step, every single part of the all the ingredients for starting a business and every app I needed, every piece of software, every platform, every uh service description, every standard operating procedure, every system, every piece of messaging, right? Like it's hard. It can keep you stuck. It can keep you from moving forward because you feel like you need to have all the answers. Um, and that can be super overwhelming. Um, and I think, you know, I kind of was trying to square peg round hole my way in the beginning of being a business owner. Beginning of my entrepreneurial journey, I was trying to be everything to everyone. And sidebar, Everything to Everyone is a really good song by Everclear, and it reminds me of my high school years. I used to blast So Much for the Afterglow, that album. Anyway, um, side note, you know how I go with my ADHD tangents. But anyway, I was trying to be everything to everyone. And it didn't feel authentic. It never felt right, you know? And I was dealing with, first, I want to say, I forget where I saw this, but there's another educator who I follow. There's a lot of educators who I follow, online business mentors and stuff. I'm on a lot of email lists, and I can't remember who said it, but one of them was like, if I could give advice to people who are about to start their business or who are just starting their businesses or, maybe they're a year or two in, my advice would be that I wish I had cared less from day one. And I just relate to that so much. I'm in year 8 and I wish I cared less on day one as well. Um, it doesn't mean though that from time to time I don't still fall back into crummy patterns where I try to square peg round hole something out of desperation, or maybe not desperation, but out of expectation, out of feast or famine, out of, trying to rationalize with myself and go back and forth with myself on if something feels right or if something feels in or out of alignment or whatever. And I was dealing with something last week where there was a lot of square peg round holing happening. Um, and in the end, it did not work out. And honestly, I think it's for the best because I don't think I would have been being true to myself or my business, if the thing had worked out. And that's really hard because obviously we started our businesses to make money. But for me, it can't be just about that. It has to be about some other things, fulfillment, um, my philosophy, my mission, like stuff that lights me up and brings me joy, those matter just as much, if not more, than the paycheck. Um, and so I'm just sharing that little behind the scenes moment with you to tell you that like, yes, I too have made decisions or struggled with making decisions where I go back and forth on like, does this feel right to me? Does this feel right to my business or not? Okay, like maybe I can square peg round hole this and make it work anyway. Maybe I can, fudge this and do a great job still, even if it's not maybe the best thing for my business. Um, and pretty much 100% of the time, that has never really worked out great for me. It's never been worth the check. It's never been worth the hassle and the stress. So just, I'm with you on that. If you're going through something like that, it's okay. We're human beings. Um, and it might happen again. I don't know. I can't predict the future. But, I try to remember that saying that I just shared with you. I wish I cared less from from day one, because I think it all aligns. Um, and so, business building, it can really be just as much about finding yourself as it is about finding clients. And one thing about that, of course, like social media is a tool to help us find clients, to help us market our business. But it's also an opportunity for you to have your audience get to know you as a person, as a brand. And because so many of you tell me that posting on social media feels so overwhelming, you're not getting the traction, you don't know what to say, you've got a million plates in the air. I want to give you something. I made a free cheat sheet to help. It's 30 days of content ideas that you can actually use and customize to your business. So I want you to head to aliciayurvis.com/30 days of social and use it like a menu to stay visible without overthinking everything, like the overthinking I was just talking to you about. uh, all right. So now let's talk about what it really takes to grow a business when you're rebuilding your whole freaking story. So my guest today is Coach KemZi. If you haven't met her yet, prepare to feel seen and lit up. So here's a little more about KemZi in her own words. She's the founder of the Build membership, helping aspiring entrepreneurs grow dream businesses from the inside out. She's a self-reinvention coach and business strategist who guides big dreaming business owners through the identity work needed to finally take action and thrive. She's the host of The KemZi Show, a podcast about using identity work and personalized business strategies to build the life and business of your dreams. She's a former engineering student turned impact driven coach and entrepreneur. After a near death experience, she said goodbye to shame and engineering and rebuilt her life on purpose and possibility. And she's a chocolate enthusiast because there's a difference between chocolate cake and cake that tastes like chocolate. Yes, I said what I said. That's what she put in her bio. Yes, I said what I said. So I'm really, really happy to welcome Coach KemZi. KemZi, I'm so glad you're here. It's so nice to see you. And I just told my audience a little bit about you. I read your awesome bio. I told them a little bit about your business. And I'm just so happy that you have joined me here today. I'm excited to chat with
Hey,
you.
I'm thrilled. I'm really thrilled to be here. I love that we met so long ago in a program together and now we're actually working
Yes.
together. That is so cool.
I know. I love that. Yeah, we connected, for those listening, we connected a while back. We're in a bunch of the same circles online, for marketers and course creators and content and all that kind of stuff. And we bumped into each other digitally, and, connected that way. And then when I started my show, I have like a running list in my Trello board of folks that I want to be guests on my show. And you were absolutely on that list. And I'm so happy that it's worked out. So yay. um, so you, in your own words, you said like that you help folks who aren't just launching businesses, they're launching themselves.
Mhm.
And I love that. So let's rewind a little bit. When did you realize that this work around like identity and reinvention was calling you? Like, how did that come to be?
So let me take you back to like April 2019. I'm a broke college student. There is like I have no money, no time, no clue where to start, but I'd had a business before. Like since I was a kid, I'd always wanted to have a business. I don't know why. My parents were in 9 to 5s, but I just always felt like I was called towards entrepreneurship. So at some point when I was about 18, I had this successful cake business that was growing pretty quickly by word of mouth. Every week or so, we had another order, and it got to a point when I was done selling cakes. I was selling jewelry that I was making. So everything was all about my crafts and my, just creative skills. But then I got to this point where I felt just so unfulfilled by it. Like I had sales, I had clients, but I felt just, I don't know, like something was missing. And I realized that I had gone through this journey of healing from a lot of trauma, and I had a near death experience as well. And so I had become a whole different person. And at this point I started to learn that that was why how I wanted to do business changed as well. So my view on my business and what was going to fulfill me in my business changed because of the fact that I changed. And I
Mm,
noticed in other people too was that they started to have these pivots. Like some people will go as far as selling their business or pivoting their offer or creating a whole new offer because as we evolve, our businesses evolve. And so I came to find that even the research showed like there was an like a publication called Identity in a particular it's something called Entrepreneurship and Regional Development, and one of their issues was titled Identity. And so there are these 5 papers in their research papers where they essentially came to the conclusion that entrepreneurship is an expression of your identity. And so
mm,
every entrepreneur is different. Everyone's success path is going to be unique because what you do in your business is essentially a reflection of who you are and who you believe you can become. And so I found this,
mm-hmm.
fascinating. And I saw that because I had released a lot of trauma, I had grown in self-esteem, and I was starting to lean more into the part of me that was always that therapist of the friend group. That's how I got into coaching because I just love to talk to people, understand them, get to see your dreams come true. And I don't know, that just
I'm
kind
not.
of led me to see that as we do business, it starts from who we believe we are on the inside. And so when you come to these turning points in your life where you've had like either an experience like I had where you almost died, or you've left a relationship, or you've graduated from college or something like that, you've changed jobs, you've been burnt out from one career and you're looking for a new one, you start to find that you're facing a whole new chapter. And if you want to start a business in that chapter, you need to first find who you are before you can express that through entrepreneurship, if that makes sense.
That does make sense. Yes, it does. There's so many different um times or ways in your life where there is that like transition thing that needs to happen. Like you just said, change of job, change of a relationship, like all these different things that are not necessarily the things we immediately think of, but are just as valid and just as relevant, where you need you're kind of at a crossroads.
Yeah.
So I totally relate to that. I also relate to being the therapist in the friend group, big time.
Is every coach the therapist of the friend group?
I don't know. It seems that way. So first, can we just pause? Near death experience. That is crazy. That is so intense. I'm so happy that you are
That it's
here today and that you are you are on my show and you are okay. That is just so much to go through. Would you be willing to share anything about that particular
yeah.
experience?
So at the time I was in engineering, I was studying to become an engineer. Well, really, I was studying to become an inventor. And I thought
Hmm.
that being an engineer would be the way to become an inventor. So there was always
Mm-hmm.
this creative side of me. Come to find later on when I'm working with someone who was a physical therapist, but she knew about the brain. She said the
Mm-hmm.
part of your brain that does engineering is very different from the part of your brain that is creative. And I was like,
Hmm.
whoa. So I was essentially in this state of like cognitive dissonance where it's like, are we creative or we're engineers? Like, which one? And I just never felt like I fit into the mold of the engineering students or so, but I just kept going with it. So at this point, it's like 2021 in September, and I'm I got COVID. So this is
Mm-hmm.
in the COVID era, really. I got
Mm-hmm.
COVID. I didn't know how bad it was. I just knew that I just wanted to close my eyes. I had, when you go into a place and they say like tick if you have any of these symptoms, I was ticking
Yeah.
every single box. And
Ugh.
I still didn't realize, I just thought I needed to rest or something like that. I thought I just, I got COVID, just treat your symptoms, you'll be fine. But my brother got really worried. Then my parents got really worried. And I just wanted to sleep, not knowing that, that was about to be a really long sleep.
Oh
So I
my
go to the
gosh.
doctor, and the doctor goes, "You're not okay, and this is not you." And that was when it hit me. So he goes, "We need to get you to the ER," which I had never been to the ER before this. He
Hmm.
goes, "We need to get you to the ER. We don't have 2 days to wait for test results to come out. You need emergency care." And I'm like,
Wow.
he's like, yeah, go to the ER, go to the ER. I'm like, I don't have ER money. He's like, well, go to urgent care, but just go somewhere where they can get you your test immediately. And so I went to urgent care. They did an x-ray of my lungs, and the doctor comes in and he's like, okay, look at your lungs. Yeah, all that should not be there. I'm like, oh, okay.
Wow.
My lungs were lit up on the screen on the x-ray. And he's like, yeah, that should not be there. So they put an IV in me. This is my first time having an IV put in me. I'm sitting
Mm-hmm.
there and he's like trying to get these medications and different things in me. I hadn't been able to eat for like a couple weeks or so. So they're trying to
Wow.
get me hydrated and get me, just get me back. And so that was how I didn't realize I'd come that close, but I came as close as 2 days. We don't have 2 days to wait for test results.
Oh my
So
God.
that was that experience. And I get back to engineering class and I'm sitting in the classroom. This is my first time back in school. And the teacher is going on about all these, forces and formulas. And I don't know if it was the COVID fog, but all I could think was, why am I here? Like, I
Mm.
just nearly died. I don't know what I'm doing here. I know I want to have a coaching business. I know I want to help people. I want to be creative. This is where like this has got to go, and this definitely being so out of alignment with who I'm meant to be in life, it must have contributed to the fact that like this must have been killing me, because
Mm.
I wasn't eager to come back to life. That was one thing. Knowing that I was going back to an engineering career, I'm like I was not eager to just be alive. And so I pushed that away, and that was how I quit my engineering degree as well and decided to go full time into entrepreneurship.
Wow. Oh my God, what an amazing story. Again, I am so happy that you are here. I'm so happy that mom and dad and fam were like, get over there. That is crazy. Oh my God. And talk about like a wake up call for living in the moment and
Mm-hmm.
like going for, your passion or maybe realizing maybe that was what made you realize this isn't my passion or, I'm not
Listen.
feeling this.
It makes you kind of like
That's
say it out loud, like just confess it to yourself. Like, because sometimes you
okay.
know, but you're not ready to say it or admit it because you
Mm,
don't know what you're going to do. Like, I didn't know what degree I was going to move to. I knew I couldn't drop out. I'm from Nigeria. If I
mm-hmm.
was to say I was going to drop out, my dad would have had a stroke. That would
Mm-hmm.
have been it. Like, so
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know what was going to come next. And I think that was what scared me to the point where I thought, okay, I'll just always be a business owner on the side, but I'll get this degree and do a real job like the people say.
Mm-hmm.
But in that moment, it's like I value the very fact that I still have breath in my lungs. I'm not going to spend one more minute being miserable in something I don't want to do just because of someone else's validation or, whatever they want of my life when I need to be proud of who I am whenever I take my last breath.
Oh my God, that is so inspirational. You are 1,000% right. Like, yeah, so you had been like maybe quietly contemplating things or, feeling like something wasn't quite clicking, but
Oh
like you
yeah, I
said,
would I
not,
would come out of class and I would be watching a business masterclass or listening to a business podcast. Like 2021 or so, no, 2020 was when I joined DCA. So this
mm-hmm,
is 2021. It's already been a year and I'm still struggling to create my course because I'm also grappling with this engineering degree. And it's like
mm-hmm,
I've had this plan to create a course for how long? What is going on? Like I come out
mm-hmm.
of class and that's what I want to do. I'm in class and I'm just thinking about, oh, my business, my business. And it's like, are you really an engineering student though? What are you doing?
Mm-hmm. For those listening, DCA, that's Digital Course Academy, led by the lovely Amy Porterfield. KemZi and I both went through that program to learn how to make our courses. So yeah, so you're sitting there in your class and you're daydreaming about all this other stuff.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm. Oh my gosh. So, okay. So then you're like, all right, I'm done. Like, I want to go and do my own thing. And so let's talk about that. So you wanted to, did you know you wanted to go, or you said you wanted to help people, you wanted to go into coaching right away? Like, what were some of the things you felt like you could help with coaching in particular, or what kind of coaching were you feeling called to do?
I knew definitely from my experience, like growing my initial businesses, I wanted to help other entrepreneurs or people who felt like they wanted to have a business but were too afraid to. Because at this
Hmm.
point, I'd gone through enough to see why entrepreneurship is so hard. It's so worth it, but it's so hard. And I
Yeah.
saw why a lot of people would either not start or why they would quit. So now I wanted to help with that, but then even more, I wanted to help with self-esteem. I wanted to help with overcoming shame and fear because part of the main trauma that I've been through in life was like medical trauma, where I
Mm.
had this disease. I essentially would wet the bed every day of my life till I was
Wow.
about 20 years old. And
Wow.
it's something I couldn't control. I didn't even know where it came from. I just knew that
Hmm.
no matter what I did, even times when I would starve myself, somehow I would still wet the bed. And I grew up with a lot of shame because of that. And that
Yeah.
was why I wasn't living a life that I wanted. So when that happened again and I nearly died, I was like, I already promised myself I was going to somehow create a life that I love waking up to, like no matter how I wake up,
Mm.
right? Whether I'm
Hmm.
wet or I'm dry, I would
Hmm.
create this life I love to wake up to. So at this point, I'm thinking I want to help people who have gone through something like that. Maybe not the same experience, but have gone through something that caused them a lot of shame and made them kind of retract into themselves and not go
Hmm.
after their dreams because they just want to feel like they're worth something, you know? And that leads you to like my first business is my cake business. I
Hmm.
would have started a coaching business or gone down that line, but I was still too ashamed and lacking self-esteem. I needed to make something that other people could say, "Oh, that's good," or "It tastes good," and put my worth in what I was creating. That's not going to work if I'm sharing my wisdom or my thoughts. So, all my businesses at
Mm.
that time were with like creating something, making a cake, making jewelry. Not that everyone who was in that kind of business is going through this, but that was what I was facing. So my business at that time was coming from a place of I need to make something that other people can validate because I can't validate myself. So when I
Mm.
got to a place where I could validate myself, what I wanted to do in my business changed inevitably. So I wanted to help people with that as well. And just knowing that I had gone through these different turning points in my life and different stages, like versions of myself, and seeing people get stuck in one version of themselves, not being able to move forward, I knew I wanted to coach people through reinventing themselves and then starting a business from your new self.
Mm. I love this. I love how, and it's no surprise. I mean, so many of us start our business to help the person that maybe we were a couple years ago. Our ideal client is ourself a couple years ago. And
Exactly.
it starts with our story, our journey, everything that we went through. And so, I love how this process of you reinventing yourself and your business and your calling and all that stuff has led you to now create your business to help other people with that. So, talking about the identity work and self-reinvention, I know you have said that identity work is the foundation for business strategy. What does that mean? And how does someone start doing that work?
Yeah, so like I was saying, entrepreneurship is an expression of your identity.
Hmm.
So your strategies, your techniques, your tactics, they'll all stem from who you are and who you believe you can become. So if you are someone who you haven't started a business yet, maybe you don't believe you can be an entrepreneur, you're going to have to believe you can be an entrepreneur and then start to act like the entrepreneur you dream of being before you
Mm.
can make any tactics or strategies. If not, you'll find that you start to follow what somebody else is saying instead of finding your own unique path to success because in your mind, you're not truly an entrepreneur. You're someone who needs to follow someone else's path. And like we said, entrepreneurship is unique, it's personal. it's more about being you than being somebody else. Like it forces you to grow and like develop yourself. So like you also teach this, be yourself. Everything about your business should be also about you per se. Like it's about who you serve, but you want to be you in your business. So if you
Mm-hmm.
don't believe you can be an entrepreneur, you can't believe you can run a business. You can't come up with strategies that would work for you, that would feel aligned. And the same thing will go for you've started your business, and let's say you want to go from 4 figures to 6 figures. You have to see yourself as a 6 figure entrepreneur to start to act like one and then strategize like one. So that self-definition, it always should come before the strategy. You always need to know who you want to become or who the future version of you that has achieved your goal is, so you can start to act as that person, like be them to become them. So that's where
Mm,
it starts, is to make it personal, envision who that future you is, and then start to be them to become them.
mm. This is so helpful because so many things just popped into my head when you were saying that. First, I remember it was a couple months ago, someone posted something in one of the groups where I forget the topic, but somehow this comment came in where this person was sharing, well, I like to make art, but I'm not an artist, blah, blah, blah,
Mm,
blah,
triggers me
and
right there. That's my
and
trigger.
right? And I saw that comment and I just felt like I had to respond. And first of all, just validate this woman and say, like, you are an artist. Like, and I kept bringing up the scene in Sister Act 2 when Whoopi Goldberg is talking to Lauryn Hill and she's like, if the first thing that you think about in the morning when you wake up is singing, you're a singer.
Yeah,
And,
that's it.
like, but sometimes people need that external validation for someone else to give them that title, that crown, that whatever. And just like Wizard of Oz, like you've always had the power in yourself, my dear, And so when we're trying to, I guess, picture that future self, like what you're saying, think like a six-figure business owner, think like the role that you want or the kind of business that you want. Do you recommend people do that with like meditation, vision boards, journaling, just thinking? Like, what are some of the ways that people can kind of start that picturing process?
Ooh, okay, I love this part. This is a great question. Okay, so I know everybody would want to go straight to journaling because you're told journaling is the way to go, but that's another thing where I found you need to do what works for you. Like
Yeah, I hate journaling.
I'm a very visual person. My imagination
Uh-huh.
runs wild. So
Yep.
I can just sit down and define for myself, this is what she looks like, this is how she dresses, this is how she talks, and start to be like that. Somebody else
Hmm.
might need to write that down. Somebody might need to record that. Or you might need
Mm-hmm.
to talk to a friend about it and just like it clarifies itself that way. So I do know I love to write it down or I love to share it with somebody and kind of enroll them in that reinvention process.
Hmm.
So what I've done recently, like for instance, I do journal. So I would put in my journal, who do I want to become? What do I want for my business? And I would write that down. What does she do? What do I need to release? So I have like a 4 step process that I go through, but it starts with who is she and what does she do? How is she different from who I am now? And so I start to see where the gap is so I can start to bridge that gap.
Mm. And is that the four-step process? Is that the framework for the identity shifts? Because I wanted to
Yeah.
ask you about that. That's that? Okay, great. Awesome. Yeah, that makes so much sense. And I agree about the finding the way that works for you. I mean, I agree about finding the way that works for you about everything in business. But with something like this, yeah, of picturing that future you, your future business, your future clients even, and visualizing or thinking or preparing for that in the way that works best for you. I think if I were to go through that process, which I absolutely am going to after this episode, you're inspiring me. Um, I'm very visual too, so I probably would make like a mood board or a vision board or something like that
That would
where,
be so perfect.
yeah, like I could hang it up, I could look at it every day, and then also doing the internal work too of like what would she say? What would she think about this? How would she prepare for this? Because she is me. So stepping into who I want to be and how I want my business to grow, I'd be, picturing myself and putting it into my own words. So I love this exercise. This is very exciting. I'm really charged up to do this afterwards.
Yeah.
So for someone too who maybe they're listening and maybe they feel lost in, you know, I'm not the same person anymore. They're lost in who they used to be. But maybe they're not sure of who they're becoming. Like maybe they're not sure of the next step. What would you say to them to kind of help them detangle that a little bit, or maybe some clues that they could look for?
Yeah, okay. So this is where we kind of actually get into the first step of my process, which is
Oh, okay.
realizing that something has to change. And so oftentimes we think about becoming your new self. You're thinking a lot about who that new self is and that journey. But I found that to get from A to B, leaving A is just as important as the journey and as the destination. So to
Mm,
think about what you're leaving behind, what can't stay the same. You need to you want to stop, you want to think, okay, I don't know where I'm going, but you need to at least know what you want to leave behind because that gets you out the door. So, what has to
mm,
change? Maybe I can't keep saying I can't be an entrepreneur. I can't keep saying I can't make six figures. Or, I can't, it's always I can't keep something. I can't keep XYZ. So, we kind of fill in the blank right there. I can't keep saying that I'm too shy to speak in front of people. I'm too much of an introvert to be an entrepreneur. And I mean, you just had an episode about this too. I think if it
I
was
did.
so it was so good, so good. Like I can't keep saying that this limitation means I can't do that. So, yeah, so that's the first step is to
Hmm.
realize what has to change and tell yourself it has to change. Like I can't keep doing this and draw the
Hmm.
line right there.
Mm. I love that. And you weren't on for this part, but in the beginning of this episode, I was sharing how I recently went through something with my business where I was presented with a potential opportunity and I had to think through the ways of like, do I want to pursue this opportunity? Does this feel right to me? Does it feel right to my business and where we are? Um, and there was definitely a level of square peg, round hole,
Mm,
and of me feeling like I don't feel like this is in total alignment with where my business is right now or where I want it to go. But I also need to make money and, having like a feast or famine moment. And at the same time, there were things coming up for me as I thought through this process. Lack of confidence in what I'm able to do, even though I have many years of experience, many happy clients. I
yeah.
know I can do the thing. It's still, still struggle with that stuff sometimes. Um, but what I also realized is that I was kind of reacting to um uh what I felt like were my personal limits, like Alicia's personal limits, as opposed to what the whole business could do and offer, how the whole business could come to meet the moment of that project by hiring subcontractors and support and all these kinds of things. And so that was a bit of a mind shift for me too, because I want to grow my business in that way where I can take on larger meteor projects and meteor clients, as long as it still feels like a good fit for me. In the end, that particular opportunity did not work out, and that's okay. That's okay. But I learned a lot from the whole mental
Yeah.
gymnastics of the of the project, and
That may have been a
the
test.
opportunity piece. Yeah.
It might have been
Mm-hmm.
a test for you to really step into who you want to be and what you want your business to be. And you definitely
Mm-hmm.
passed it. So, hey,
Oh, hey, thank you so much. I like that. That's a good reframe for me. You're right. Yeah, and it's like I've learned a lot from that experience, and now it's kind of like, okay, the next time this happens, I know more what to expect. I know I've already had like jumping through the mental hoops. I don't have to do that next time, you know? So I'm excited to like remember this experience, you know, the next time I'm presented with something like that.
Right.
And excited to go through this, you know, how do I want to be in the future? I'm gonna do your whole process because I'm really excited to do that. Um,
And if
so
we're to say, sorry, if we're to
oh
say
no, go.
how you were, how you just went through this process, so you've done this first step of saying, I can't keep saying yes to everything because I'm scared of what's not going to work for me, or I'm
Mm-hmm.
scared that I won't make money, or I
Mm-hmm.
can't keep saying that I'm not a good enough business owner, or I'm not confident enough to make good
Mm-hmm.
decisions. You know, I
Mm-hmm.
can't keep saying that it's all on me to make my business grow when I really can ask for help and my business itself can offer more than even I can offer. So
Mm-hmm.
you've done that.
Yeah, it's so true. And thank you for identifying that. Yeah, and like this is I was joking, half joking before when I said, yeah, I hate journaling. I don't really hate journaling. It's just that because of like the ADHD side of my brain, it's like, it takes so long to journal. But
True.
I do it strategically. It is helpful to write things down, not only
Yeah.
for recall later, but to get it out of me. There's something about the
Exactly.
getting it out of you
Yeah.
in written form, literally, that is just very helpful for whatever reason. So I am absolutely going to journal about this because I
Yes,
know it will
right?
be.
Get it out of you. That's true. I
Yeah.
call that responsive journaling. I don't know where I got that from, but I call it
Hmm.
responsive journaling. It's like
Mm-hmm.
journaling in response to a need for clarity in
Hmm.
your mind instead of like journaling as a daily habit. I have to journal every day when I wake up. I don't believe in that. I mean, I know it works for some people, but I
Mm-hmm.
don't do that either. Maybe because of the ADD. It's like I can't sit down and think, for the next 10 minutes I have to write something down. No. If
Yeah.
I feel unclear and I know when my mind needs to let go of something, then I'm gonna journal in response to that need for clarity. So I'm with you on
Yep.
that totally.
Yeah, my therapist, I've talked to her about all of this, you know, many times and she always tells me, she's like, I think because you're thinking of, oh, it takes so long, oh, I have to, oh, I'm supposed to. She's like, you're in your mind, it's like a chore you don't want to do. She's like,
Exactly.
but if you think of journaling or your journals as tools that are there for you when you need them, that's helpful. And I'm like, oh my God, that is it. And that
Perfect.
allowed
That's what
me
I said.
to,
Mic drop.
yep. Yep. That allowed me to move forward. Okay. So talking a little bit of a little shift in the road here, I want to talk with you about social media specifically. Because I know you had shared with me, you know, in the beginning, or at least, you know, a while back, you know, you were kind of feeling that thought that I hear very frequently from my students, from my audience. I hate social media. I hate being on it. I hate having to think about it. I don't want to do it. I don't want to put my face out there. Or maybe they don't mind social media, but like they don't know how to do it strategically or they have a hard time coming up with content, whatever, whatever. And now I kind of feel like you have more. You've embraced social media in many
Yeah.
ways. So talk to me a bit about how did you go from dreading it to actually like having fun doing it?
So it builds exactly on what we've talked about. I had to do the
Mm-hmm.
identity work first, and I actually did my own process through it. So I went from social media causing me all this anxiety and me going, I'm just gonna quit. I'm not doing it anymore. To I call myself the social girly. So that's the name I
Mm-hmm.
gave my new identity. I'm a social girly.
Love it.
And so the first step was going from I can't keep saying that social media is for one type of social person, the extrovert, or the one who loves to share what they're eating today. Because I'm not the kind of person who's gonna be all, oh, see what I'm eating today. Like, I can't say I'm that person or I love doing that. And I used to think that social media was for a certain kind of person. If they wanted to succeed on there, they had to want to do the dances and the trends and the sharing every single thing. And I'm like, I can't keep saying that social media is for a certain kind of person who I'm not. I need to
Mm-hmm.
believe that I can do it on my own terms. So it was what I had to let go of was the first step, what needs to change. Then I went into the second step, which is adapting by releasing the old to make space for the new. So I've already admitted to myself what needs to go. Now I'm gonna actively release that. So I release the need to appear a certain way on social media. So I can't keep saying I
Mm-hmm.
have to be one person. And now I release the need to be that person or to be on anybody's timeline, follow anybody's specific directions. Like, you have to post every day, you have to post 3 times a day, you have to post 3 times a week. Anything like
Mm-hmm.
that. I release the need to show up in one specific way if I'm gonna believe I can be successful on social media. Then the
Mm-hmm.
third step was rewriting the story. So I'm a social girly. I am, I use social media for my business. I'm not an influencer, but I can have influence through my social media. I get to decide what I want to do on my social media. And so rewriting that story for myself, reframing it, that's always the third step. And then the fourth step is to execute my first step as this new identity. So if I'm the social girly, what's the first thing I want to do? Maybe it's I want to come up with my next week's strategy. Maybe it's I want to reintroduce myself. For me, it was I wanted to archive or delete all the posts that did not match who I was anymore.
Mm.
And I wanted to start fresh, just give myself a blank
Mm-hmm.
slate. And so that was what I did. I put things in the archive where I deleted posts and just gave myself a fresh blank slate to start to work off of. I
Mm-hmm.
then chose how I wanted to show up. So I love Jasmine Star. She also teaches social media. And I
Mm-hmm.
saw
She's
also
fun.
when you said when you said just like be yourself, show what you want to show. So I took both of those and I said, okay, I want to reintroduce myself. I want to share what I have to offer. I want to share what also it comes up for me outside of my business. So I talk about how I started this mixology thing where I love to mix drinks together, whether it's a mocktail or a cocktail. I just love to mix stuff together as part of that creative streak I have. So I started to share more about that and got people
Mm-hmm.
responding to that. I started to share more about just the things that I care about on my podcast. I shared about that. I reintroduced myself as well, and it started to help me to practice my messaging even more and to see
Mm-hmm.
what is resonating with people. So that's also been great. And then I saw that people found me and wanted me to join their communities, or like I got to connect more with you because now I was more on social
Mm-hmm.
media and in my Facebook groups and things like that. So that was how that started to work for me was I knew I had to do the identity work first. And when it got to the point where I started to feel that anxiety again, I'm like, I'm the social girly. What is going on here? Why is it not resonating with me? Why am I feeling anxious? Okay, we're gonna put that away. And I essentially had done the identity work, so I was kind of invincible to the things on the outside.
Mm.
I'd done the work on the inside. I call it being an invincible entrepreneur. So you do the work on the inside so much so well that what comes on the outside can't shake you anymore. So that anxiety
Mm.
was coming up, and I'm like, oh no, I'm a social girly. I enjoy social media. So how are we gonna rework things, reroute ourselves to make sure we stay on that path of enjoying it? If I need to pause for a moment, okay, I'll pause. I'll experiment. Everything is a test. That is perfect. I'm not gonna force myself into anything just for the sake of social media. It's more about me expressing myself than it is about me, appealing to the social gods. So that
Mm-hmm.
was the reframe that I did, and then I've been enjoying it so far.
I love this because, first of all, like something that I constantly am telling my people is like when I share that advice of, be yourself, just be who you are, all that stuff. I know that that's easier said than done. And I know that the people who are struggling with that are like, yeah, great. If I could just do that, I would. Like, that's why I'm asking for help. I get that. But what I keep saying to them is just like anything, the more that you do it, the easier it gets. And so you have to, in my opinion, give yourself the opportunity to give it a shot. Like give
Exactly.
yourself the the opportunity to try it. Like KemZi's saying, like, hey, like this is what I want to talk about. These are the things I'm interested in. I'm going to be me. I'm going to, bring myself into my social media. Let me see how it goes. And I love the thing about the mixology because it's like, okay, that's not your business, but it's a fun thing about you. And it's like an opportunity for engagement. And for people to get to know, another piece of you. So anyway, I always am telling folks like you can't boo yourself off stage before you've even performed. Like we attach meaning to things. We predict how something's gonna go.
Yeah.
Like rip off the band-aid, give it a shot. You could always delete it. You could always whatever, but like what if it goes great? What if you have fun? Like
You know,
that's the piece that I for as bright and fun and poppy as my brand is, I do struggle with pessimism sometimes. I really do. And so I tend to, not all the time, but a good amount of the time, I'm like, oh God, like, oh, this isn't gonna be right, or oh, I'm not gonna like this, or oh, this isn't gonna have the result that I want. And what I've been working really hard with, especially over the last year, year and a half, has been, what if it goes great? What if you love it? What if it goes right? What if it's awesome? Like, and it's kind of like, oh, I never thought of that. I literally never thought of that. Um, but I love how you did that moment too, where you're like, hold on, something's not feeling right. Okay, let me step back for a second. Let me like figure out why that's feeling wonky or like why whatever, and then let me try again. Because I think that's a moment right there where a lot of people would just stop and never go back.
That's it,
And
exactly.
and you're saying, don't stop, just pause and then press play again later in a different way or on a different, when it's a nicer, sunnier day, or, when you've had some dopamine. Like, we never know what the things are that are going to like turn it around and try again.
Exactly. Like that's
Hmm.
that's perfectly right.
I love that. So okay, so we talked about, your approach to that. What do you do anything in terms of besides like the mixology piece that I love, that's just so fun. Um, do you do anything to decide like your content each week or each month or however often you do it? Are you following like a formula, or is it just like, I want to talk about this today?
Oh, dude, I give myself space to talk about what I want to talk about every day.
Yeah.
But if I'm to post every single day, I know that I want to have some sort of framework. And
Mm.
currently, I'm following Jasmine Star's framework where she has like 7 content categories. So I just make that like one for each day. So today's an about me post, tomorrow's a benefits post, tomorrow's an insight. The
Mm-hmm.
next day is showcasing my product, something like that. So I kind of follow that framework.
Mm-hmm.
But what I also like to do, what I'm leaning more into now is using my podcast as like the foundation for all my other content. So
Mm-hmm.
I know what I'm going to do in my podcast episode each week. And then I go, okay, how do I want to spread this out into different like social media posts? Like I learned about this framework for education where you want to talk about understanding the concept and then practicing that new understanding before you actually give people action steps. So I try to
Mm.
use like 3 to 6 different posts where I focus on, okay, how do I help them understand what I talked about? Then how do we talk about practicing what you now know before I say, okay, now go do ABC, now that you know this. So I use that
Mm-hmm.
as well to come up with different content ideas. And then I fill it up in there with just things about me or other fun topics, whether it's mythology or it's chocolate cake, because I love me a good chocolate cake. You're nachos, I'm chocolate cake, and like I said, there's a difference between chocolate and what tastes like chocolate. Okay,
Okay,
Let's-
explain this. Explain this because you put this in your bio. I specifically wanted to ask you. Please explain this.
so okay. Oh, pet peeve. The first chocolate cake I learned to make, it was a vanilla cake, but there was chocolate flavoring in it. And I'm like,
Okay.
the texture of this is not right. It doesn't give you this what I call for the people who are not very PG, you're gonna love this. I call it a chocogasm. Chocolate gets in your mouth and it melts and it's warm and it like it's just so something. But when it's just something that tastes like chocolate, it doesn't give you the same experience. So I had to start
Hmm.
experimenting with different chocolate cake recipes till I found that you use oil instead of butter. You use very dark cocoa powder instead of just like chocolate flavoring in a bottle. You what else do we do? We use oil, we use cocoa powder. I use coffee as well to bring out the chocolate flavor instead of using hot water. And so different
Hmm.
tricks like that. And by the time you eat the cake, it tastes very different and it feels very different from a regular like sponge cake or yellow cake that was like you just put some chocolate flavoring and brown coloring in it.
Hmm.
That was what I moved away from. I'm like, that is a cake that tastes like chocolate. But a chocolate cake has its own chemistry. It's way easier to make and it melts in your mouth just like a chocolate bar would. So
Hmm.
That's the
Love
truth right
it.
there.
I love it. As soon as that went in your bio, I'm like, okay, we have to break this down. I need to know what she
Oh yeah.
means by this.
Hey, Coach
But I
Jasmine's gonna
understand
do
what
it.
you're saying. I understand what you're saying fully. I have had both kinds, and I agree. Chocolate cake is the way to go every time. And I have to ask you too, when like I know this is your business now, like you're doing coaching, but are you still called on to make cakes? Are you like the cake
Yes.
maker in okay.
I'm the
Okay.
family's cake maker for everybody's birthday.
Amazing. Amazing.
Yeah,
I expected that. Okay, good. I'm glad you could still keep your hand in that.
I know.
Um, okay, so going back to the social media thing. So when you're talking about, and I love Jasmine Star too, she's great. The idea of those different like buckets of content, those different topics, I call them content pillars. That's the
Yeah.
approach I do as well. I teach that in my course. By the way, if you're listening, get on my wait list, aliciayervis.com/waitlist. My social media content strategy course is going to be opening doors again soon. I don't know when
Yes.
yet. I'm figuring that out, but it'll be soon. But
Are you
yeah,
doing the
we talk
master class?
about, say again, what?
Are you doing the master class again?
Yeah, I am going to do the masterclass
Get
again.
on the wait list.
Yes.
That master class is perfect. I
Uh,
listened to the podcast episode that was about the master class where you kind of like
yeah.
for the master class through your podcast. Perfect.
hmm
I loved it. Y'all
Thank
need
you
to
so
listen to that.
much. Thank you. Yes, I will drop the link to that in the show notes. It's a good one. And I keep going back to those same concepts, even myself. But the idea of content pillars has been really helpful for my students because number one, it gives you variety, which is important to me. And I don't know if that's the ADHD, but I need variety in my life. But number two, it helps you realize just how much you have to offer and just how much you can, so much that you have to say, and how you can help people through all these different ways. And it's fun to come up with those pillars and be able to mix them in. But what I also love about what you said is you're like, okay, I have this podcast show, which we were talking about offline, that we both are having so much fun running our podcast. Um, and the podcast has helped you create, original weekly content every week or however often you're doing it. And then with those episodes, it's all about repurposing and getting more life and more real estate out of the episodes. And that's exactly what I'm doing too. It's like, each episode can turn into multiple emails, blog posts, videos, reels, even
Exactly.
freebies or, different carousels or whatever. And I love repurposing. Like that sounds like what you're doing too, right?
Exactly. That's it perfectly.
Yep. Yeah.
It's like
I
you need
love
to
it.
give that life to what you're creating because, and also because there are different ways to express things. Like the way I would talk about it on the podcast, I might be able to do something different on social media, like through a reel or through a
hmm
carousel. So the ways you get to break things down, you get to express yourself like that, as opposed to just, and of course, again, you can just do the like waveform video that you post on your Instagram, all of that too.
Yeah. No, it's so true. Which what piece of this podcast episode do I want to turn into which thing,
Hmm.
or whatever. And all of those posts or all of those then mini assets that you're creating are like different gateways for people to find the episode and grow it.
Exactly.
So I love that. Okay. So talking a little bit now about kind of like risk taking, embracing failure, things like that. You have said that the boldest risks are often the safest ones. And I want to understand more about that. Tell me more about that idea.
Okay, so I like to say that like entrepreneurs, especially when we're struggling or you're just starting, we think that we need to avoid three things. So we need to avoid fear, we need to avoid failure, or we need to avoid the phases of success. Like success has to happen one way or we're failing. So when it comes to avoiding fear, this is when I talk about risk taking. So if you're to reframe, like from making the mistake that fear is bad, and reframe it to risk is safe and you get to do it scared, you start to take back your power. So the goal here is to take fear from its like biological purpose, like reduce it down to its biological purpose so that you can take away its psychological power. So
Hmm.
the biological purpose of fear is to alert you to danger, to preserve, your life, to preserve your mind, whatever it is. But when you're growing a business, what's the danger? The worst that can happen is you don't make money and you go get a job. You're not going to die. hopefully. I don't know what kind of
Mm-hmm.
business you're doing, but you should not be dying if your business isn't working. You're
Mm-hmm.
not gonna fall sick. You're not gonna lose your life. You're not gonna lose your family, hopefully, as well. But so when that fear comes up, it's for you to bring it back down to, okay, what is the danger? There is none. Risk itself, we also see risk just like we see fear. Risk is also, oh, something dangerous. You're doing something dangerous. But I actually looked into the origin of the word risk, like the etymology of it, and it comes from part of its origin is this word risicare or like risicare. I don't know how they pronounce it. I think it's Italian, but it
Mm-hmm.
means to dare. It means to venture upon. So
Hmm.
when you take a risk, you're literally saying, I dare. I dare to do it. You're not saying that I'm going to do something dangerous. It's not compulsory that, you need to be risking your life. Like every time we hear a risk, we're automatically thinking risk your life. But no, you're not risking your life. You're risking some time that you might spend on it. You're risking your confidence or your self-image, maybe, which we tend to really want to hold on to a certain like ego or self-image. But if we're able to let that go and just say, you know what, I dare. I dare to start this business. I dare to launch this offer. I dare to come on this podcast and share, even though I'm really nervous. I
Mm-hmm.
dare to do it. You know, that is where you start to find that you might take a very big risk in terms of it feels like you really have to push yourself to dare to do it, but it it protects you from the regret, the biggest regret that you have, and this is what makes it safe, is the biggest regret you can have is what you didn't do. You're gonna
Mm-hmm.
you're gonna regret more what you didn't do than what you did do. And so when you dare to push yourself, dare to do the thing that you really dream of doing, even if you might look stupid at the end of the day, you might feel embarrassed if it doesn't work out, but that's not gonna kill you. You can still try again. But you're gonna look back and let's say like if you were to go through something like what I went through, you felt sick, you're on your sick bed, you're not thinking,
Mm-hmm.
oh, I never started that business. Oh, I was too scared to do this thing, right? You're not gonna feel that. Like I would rather feel like I tried and failed than to feel like I never tried at all. So taking a risk is what gets you there. It's what protects you from having that regret later on. I'm afraid more of regret than I am of failure. Let's put it like that. I'm
Mm-hmm.
afraid more of regret than of failure. So when you take a risk, it protects you from regrets. So that's what
Mm-hmm.
makes it safe. And it's all about just saying, I dare.
Hmm. You are speaking to my gut right now, and my heart, and my brain, and my whole self, because I am someone who, again, for my bright colors and my bold brand and all that stuff, very often I can be a freaking scaredy cat. And it's like I'm so annoyed at myself about that for I mean it depends on the thing, but sometimes my fear gets the better of me and I decide I can't do that. I can't try that. I don't want to learn about that. It's a I my business partner, he always tells me you are someone not always, but he's like you're someone who is very often a fast no instead of a slow yes. And it's my fear that talks me out of stuff sometimes.
Right.
And it's frustrating because I don't give that advice. That's not what I teach my people. And I
Yep.
need to remember that myself. I need to, follow my own advice more often because first, I love what you said about like changing the idea of it in your mind. I love the idea of a dare. That's very like interesting concept to me. I never thought of it like that. Um, but I get so frustrated when I get afraid of stuff. And I think it's because I don't know, like I'm predicting the result or I'm overwhelmed by thinking of all the steps or I don't, you know, I can't exactly see the finished product yet or something and it's just it becomes so far away that I then just close the door on it. But in thinking about the future business person I want to be and like we talked about earlier and the goals and all that stuff, like I need to challenge myself on that. I need to stop doing that because I'm also like I believe in manifestation and the universe and all those things. So if I'm putting out that negative energy or that closed energy, then I'm probably missing opportunities that are,
Right. You're just
possibly
looking
heading
past the
my way.
open doors.
Yeah, yeah. So that is so interesting. I can't wait to re-listen to this episode, because you've given me so much to think about, with these ideas. And I know you have something too called the what is it, failure to success scale?
Yeah.
What is that? How can we tell us what that is first?
So we've talked about avoiding fear, or in this case, no longer avoiding fear. So now, not
Mm-hmm.
avoiding failure because everything is a test.
Mm-hmm.
Everything is an experiment. So you're coming on social media, you haven't tried it before, you have tried it before, but now you want to enjoy it. You experiment. What kind of post do you like? What do you not like? There's no way to fail if to you everything is just a test that's going to give you more data to make your next decision, right?
Mm-hmm.
Every action just brings you clarity. So the failure to success scale is I like to redefine success and failure on a scale of 1 to 10. I really love to use a scale of 1 to 10 because to me it's like it's the best way to get past all or nothing thinking or like black and white thinking. It's like, let's
Oh
just
yeah.
put it on a scale, right? If 1 is failure and 10 is success, I'm never going to deem anything a 1 like a complete failure because it's always going to teach me something. And I don't want to deem anything a 10 either because where's the space for growth? Where's the space for, possibility? So let's just put fear and like failure and success on a scale where we can embrace the progress and the possibilities at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
So I get back on social media and I try posting a certain way and it doesn't work for me. That's not a failure. That let me learn something. I would rate that maybe a 5 out of 10. How do I want to make it a 10 out of 10 or a 9 out of 10? How do I want to get more towards what works for me? So I always define what is the failure, or I do a launch or I host a webinar and nobody shows up. That's not a failure.
Mm-hmm.
I still did the webinar. I still spoke to people, or I still spoke to myself and I got to record it and share the replay, you know? But the success is everybody came and people bought. I can still find something in that to say, maybe the conversion rate, I want it to be higher or something like that. Or I want
Yeah.
to have a different price point or something like that. So essentially, you put failure and success on a scale with no matter what you're doing, whether it's social media or a course launch or whatever it is, you always want to look at it in terms of like, you don't want to say, oh, I failed or oh, I succeeded. No, you want to say, how would I rate this on a scale of 1 to 10? And what do I want to do to get closer to a 10? I don't want it to be a 10 because I always want to have space for growth, but I'm not going to deem it a complete failure either because I want to acknowledge the effort that I put in at the very least.
Mm-hmm. Yes, that is something too. Like, think and celebrate yourself for a second. Like, look at what you've accomplished. And yes, you're bringing up the zero attendee webinar example that I just shared in my recent my recent episode. But you're right. Like at the time, I'm like, oh my God, like I'm literally on Zoom talking to no one. I feel crazy, and what the hell? But I took so much away from that experience and I did learn a lot, and I still showed up. I was prepared. I gave a great presentation, and I now know what that feels like. So I don't have to worry about what that feels like because I went through it.
It
But
was
yeah,
rehearsal.
like it was rehearsal. Exactly. And yeah, we have to pause and acknowledge how far we've come, the things that we have done, the things that we have accomplished. Like, don't just put the spotlight on the negative stuff or where you feel like something fell short or whatever. Like, look at everything that went right, look at everything that went great. Um, and I just love like the thought of, and I forget if it's actually Jasmine Star or if it's maybe Marie Forleo, I forget who, but one of them says, I either win or I learn.
Yeah.
And and
I
that's
think it's Jasmine Star.
yeah, it's a great quote. And it's helpful. Like maybe, when you're in the thick of it, maybe when the sting is still a little fresh, you can't necessarily think that right in the moment,
Yeah.
but go get a piece of chocolate cake, go get some nachos,
You
or
know?
maybe go have a cry, sleep on it, but then think about it and realize like, okay, it didn't go how maybe, it didn't reach the 10 that I wanted it to be, but here's what I learned. Here's the data
Right.
I have. Here's how I can fine tune and tweak in the control room for next
Mm-hmm.
time. So I love that. Um,
And
and
if you
go ahead, go
Right,
ahead. Yeah.
like you were saying, if you actually go in with that mindset, it makes it much easier to deal with if things don't go the way that you really hope they would go. Because in your mind, you came there to learn something, you came there to do something, and you let go of the results. So most times when I'm writing down what I want to achieve, I focus more on what I want to make sure that I've done. Like I want to, like in your case, or in the case of the webinar, I want to make sure that I've delivered a webinar. That's something I can
Hmm.
control. Whether anyone is there or anyone buys or not, I can deliver that webinar. So that is a 10 out of 10 success for me. It can feel like a 10. I can have pointers for when I want how I want to make my delivery better, but it feels like a 10, right?
Hmm.
And but that's because I focus on my actions more than on the results. So if you go in with
Hmm.
that mindset of like it's gonna be I win or I learn, right? And it's gonna be about what I do more than what I get, because I can't control what I get. It makes it easier.
That is a very good point. Yeah, you can only, another thing from therapy, you can only control yourself. You can only control how you respond to something, what you do or don't do, what you say or don't say. And yeah, it's true in business as well. It's like there are things that are controllable and things that are known, and then there's like all these variables that you literally cannot control. But if you can, do your best with the things you can control, that's still an awesome win.
Exactly. That
So
is
I
it.
love that. And to share a little bit, so the experience I was talking about that I just recently went through and it didn't work out, and that was fine. I did a lot of prep going into what I wanted to present and like the different things I wanted to think through in terms of like a proposal type thing or just thinking through the obstacles or the challenging points of it, just to kind of make sense of it in my mind. And I was working with a really fantastic partner who was helping me think through all of those points, was preparing me to gather what I was going to present and all of that kind of stuff. And that partner was ChatGPT. And ChatGPT.
Chatty is my homegirl.
So we're gonna get to Chatty in 1 second, but I gotta tell you that ChatGPT. I know people have, they feel a certain kind of way and all of that stuff. And I think that more than one thing can be true at the same time. We talked about black and white thinking. Like, listen, ChatGPT is amazing and it's also flawed, and there's lots of room for improvement, but it's freaking awesome depending on how you use it and what you use it for and whatever. And for me, ChatGPT has changed my business and my life. I am obsessed with it. I love it. I use it for so many things. And ChatGPT guided me and helped me through that whole process that I talked about. And guess what? I also did a debriefing with it and it gave me a pep talk after everything was done because I felt like, and yes, I talked about this with my business partner too, everybody. Like, hello. But I'm just saying, like, I, you do the brain dump, you're giving, this is how I feel about it. These are my worries. These are whatever the parameters are. Um,
Right.
and when everything, shook out at the end, I was like, well, I owe it to ChatGPT to tell it what happened. So I did.
Exactly.
And it helped me, with the feelings after it too, like what we were just talking about with, success versus failure, all these different things. And so bringing it back around, tell me about your AI bestie. Chatty is your girl, right? Like talk to
Yeah,
me
I
about
call
Chatty.
ChatGPT Chatty or Chatster. And like you said, we do all the same things. It's like having a second me, and it's like two minds are better than one. And
Hmm.
this gets to be another mind that has access to like infinite knowledge and infinite capabilities that I can't just do or I can't do as quickly or as
Hmm.
well sometimes. And so I use it for all sorts of things. Like if
Mm.
I might journal with it. Like if I want
Hmm.
to write out, if I don't just want to write like in my book to myself, I might use the voice mode to feel like I'm talking my thoughts out to someone, and
Hmm.
it will respond, and it just helps me keep working through my own thoughts. Or I've used it for my podcast as well. When it came to editing my podcast, I uploaded
Hmm.
the file to it and it analyzed the waves and goes, okay, you want to look at this frequency and bring it down here or
Oh,
do
wow.
like it did all of that. And I was like, whoa, like I was not expecting that. Or debriefing a launch or I have a list of things that like, or creating a quiz as well. If
Hmm.
you tell it like this is my framework, I want to have like questions that work people through. Okay, what step are you on? You know, or like which identity are you? It will help you come up with questions and things. So it's like you can do
Hmm.
anything, literally anything with ChatGPT. And again,
Amen.
it's not perfect. It still has its
Right.
flaws, but that's where the we still need humans. Like we need the human touch. We need it to
Hmm.
go through our own like human filtering for it to give you like a good result that feels like you.
Yeah, exactly. Like I keep telling people it's not, in my opinion, it's never going to replace, a true human being because my
Exactly.
approach to using it is kind of like a hybrid kind of thing, where I don't really use it much for copywriting, like actually, writing text, because it can hallucinate and say crazy things and whatever.
Yeah.
But
Yes.
especially with the neurodiverse stuff that I'm dealing with, it helps me make sense of the jumble in my brain. It helps me through the log jams that happen. It helps me make a freaking point. It helps me,
Yeah.
find like the through line of like maybe connecting two ideas, things like that. And then of course, like yeah, helping with brainstorm, helping with planning and all of that kind of stuff. But I just love it so much and I know how much it has helped me. And I'm excited, honestly. Like ChatGPT is kind of like my podcast producer. I use it to help me prep for my episodes as well. Um, but with everything, like it's a fantastic tool. I really encourage folks out there to don't knock it until you try it. And it doesn't mean that it's, replacing I have many friends who are copywriters. Like that's their business.
Exactly, right?
And they're
To replace you.
they're, yeah, like they're nervous and upset, but also there's so many ways that we can use ChatGPT that have nothing to do with that. But that's like kind of that's the loudest thing in the headlines right now,
Yeah.
is that kind of
Marketing.
thing. But I just encourage you, give it a shot. A couple of weeks ago, I led a workshop on like kind of an introduction to ChatGPT, and people's minds were blown. Like they're just seeing like, oh, like wow, I didn't know it could do that. I didn't know it could do that. Especially with the repurposing we were talking about before. Like repurposing is a huge thing that it can help with.
It does.
So I love that you're that
Yeah.
you're
Like
getting the
you can
benefit
make a
out of it too.
transcript of a podcast episode and it comes up
Hmm.
it like uses your own words to write captions or like
Hmm.
carousels and tells you, you know, you can make a carousel out of this or a reel out of that.
Hmm. Yeah, it's fantastic. Sidebar, we're heading towards the end here, but I always like to ask my question or my guest this question off the cuff. Is there something right now? It could be anything, doesn't have to be about business, something you're obsessed with right now.
I'm back obsessed with Criminal Minds, the
Ooh,
show. I've been
okay.
watching it like way too much and I'm using a lot of their language and I'm like, this is a surrogate. And I'm like, that is not a surrogate. Not right. But I love like crime scene investigation type of shows. And yeah,
Mm-hmm.
Criminal Minds just got me way back. And
Got
if I
it.
can
Now,
say in business, something in business is like testing. Testing lately, I've been
mm,
all over testing, launching, testing content before I create my masterclass. Things like that
hmm.
is like testing, testing. So yeah, I test things, I do my work, and then I watch Criminal Minds.
There we go. Love it. Yeah, I have been in 2025 probably doing more testing than I ever have. Um, and I still am not like it's still not like a regular part of every single piece that I do, but I'm working on it because I know it's worthwhile. I know it's helpful to do it, not just with like email subject lines and stuff, but like actual like Facebook ads or content or whatever. It's so
Mm.
helpful to see what gets a better response so that you can kind of, rinse and repeat for the future. But I love what you said about Criminal Minds. That's very fun. Are you a true crime person or like just a crime junkie in general, or is it
Yeah.
particularly that show? Okay, got it.
I
Me
think
too.
so. Like in general, NCIS, Law and Order. I mean,
Oh yeah.
SU have to.
Yes,
My thing with
absolutely.
crime junkie shows though is I don't know. Sometimes they don't. I like to know that we got a resolution, So I just don't like
Yeah.
when they're like, oh, the person is still missing or we haven't found, like, it's just such a sad ending. But I mean, we need to hear that too. We need to, help people look for people. But yeah, I love the ending where we figure out who did it. And many times I figure out who did it before the show tells me who did it. So I'm just like, yeah, I'm a detective.
Uh-huh. That happens to me. I figure it out a lot when I watch Dateline.
Mm.
Dateline specifically for some reason. I'm like, why are they talking to this person? This is gonna come back. This
This is
guy or this is
I
but
think maybe also with pattern recognition. I think with ADHD or ADD, we have this pattern recognition and we can tell when something is like, that doesn't fit right. You're gonna be the
mhm.
killer. I know it. You're the killer.
It's so true. And also, I'm with you on I love when things are resolved, but at the same time, ever since I was a kid, I was obsessed with unsolved mysteries. I am obsessed with unsolved mysteries to this day. And every single time at the end of the episode, when I know that the mystery is unsolved, I'm pissed off, even though it's in the title of the show.
That is so You see, that's
Like,
what
what were you
I can't
expecting?
handle that.
Oh my God. Well, KemZi, I have loved this conversation so much. This has been so much fun. You were such a joy.
Thank
And
you.
I just want to say, like, if someone listening right now kind of feels like maybe they're stuck in that old version of themselves, maybe they're at some sort of a turning point, they just don't know what comes next. What would you want them to hear today? What would be helpful?
I think give yourself permission. Give
Hmm.
yourself permission to let it be a journey, not one answer that you need to find and have this like big aha moment where everything changes. Give yourself permission to let the journey progress, to let things come to you gradually, to give yourself time to uncover who it is that you want to become because you're not just becoming someone because you're becoming someone. Like you get to choose who that person is. You get to choose what you want to let go of. You get to actively release that and rewrite the story. So give yourself permission to lead the way, to let it be a journey and to love every second of it because you know you're being intentional.
Mm, 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 mm. Love it, love it, love it. Thank you so much. This was awesome. Thank you for sharing your heart and your wisdom. So many like mic drop moments in this episode. I am going to go back and listen to all of it. So please let listeners know where can they find you, follow you, want to talk about the Build membership. Like tell me all the things. Plug it
Oh
away.
yeah. I love to give before I ask for anything. And so where I
Okay.
give the most right now is my podcast, The KemZi Show, and that's anywhere Apple Podcast, Spotify, wherever you get your podcast. So after listening to the Mind Your Own Biz podcast, you can go check me out too. There's space for all of us.
That's right.
So you can check out my podcast. And then my membership is called Build. It's for aspiring entrepreneurs, like I said, in turning points of their lives, trying to find themselves and start up a business that fits their calling, their new purpose that as they're finding it. So that is who I serve with my Build membership. It's a monthly membership where I offer coaching. Like when you first join, you have a coaching call with me. I call it your dream business kickoff call. And so we really break down your own personalized action steps and you start to work through it on your own time. And I give you content every month and just like be there for you. My
Hmm.
people want to be clear, they want to be confident, and they want to feel supported. And so that is what I focus on doing through this membership.
Amazing.
So yeah, and that's
Awesome.
at coachkemz.com. So the KemZi Show
CoachKemZ.com.
and coachkemz.com or at Coach KemZi on Instagram. You can DM me there too.
Yay. Okay, awesome. And I'm going to put all the links in the show notes. So if you're listening or you're watching on YouTube, head to the show notes, head to the description, grab all those links so you can connect with KemZi. Thank you so much. This was so much fun.
This was
Being able to
amazing. Thank
spend
you.
time. Yeah. I now have a craving for chocolate cake. So I need to take care of that.
That was the most important thing for me to achieve today.
There we go. Yes. Thank you so much, my friend. I will talk with you so soon.
Yeah, you too. Bye for now.
Bye bye.